Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have Scott Hackman back on from SHV Partners. So Scott is the CEO of SHV Partners. New name, new look, who dis? So Scott's LinkedIn profile says driving growth through people. So Scott, thank you for coming back on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So good to be with you always. Love our chats.
I know. I feel like we've come a long way since the first time we had a chat, which was many months ago.
Yeah. Just like living into our weirdness, living into who we are. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think there was a huge connection piece. I mean, one thing you should take away from if you're going to start your own podcast is the connections you make with people. Perfect example being this. I feel like we've used each other's super intelligence, superpowers in certain ways to help both sides of the connection there. So big thanks for coming back on.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about engagement today. It's like my favorite word. It's my word for 24 and 25 when it comes to, I would say, culture, employees, whatever. So we're going to dive into that because it also is a keyword on YouTube. And first thing I want to start out with is a new venture you guys have around engagement, which is SHV Pathways. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so SHV Pathways is our attempt at solving a need that came across over the last 5 years, working with privately held companies, driving change and growth, learning and development. We come alongside them, build these programs, and these programs were costly. So costly for the client, their time, the amount of money they would put into it. They're very successful, driving engagement, performance, improvement, behavioral change, just alignment. And then it was kind of like, we want to cascade this more throughout our organization. How do we do this? So we started to research a technology, came across Mighty Networks, and Mighty Networks is really a digital platform. It's an app. It's very responsive, and then they can brand it for you. And what we're doing right now is we've just launched it. We're offering it for all of our clients. So anyone we're engaged with, they can have access to it as a company for their employees and for the coachees that are being coached. And they can join weekly, basically roundtable or topical forums around leadership.
Yeah. So I'm in there. And what I would say is it's pretty much a community of growth-minded people that have access to very specific topics on Tuesdays, and then very roundtable, I would say, like brainstorming topic-y on Thursdays. I think I have that right. Or is it the other way around?
No, that's it.
Okay. And then so twice a week for an hour, you get around a group of people who are processing a specific topic or processing the theme of a topic and just working through that kind of open forum. It's almost like an issue processing each week, along with having kind of a community aspect with posting, with free book suggestions, free articles. I know I gave the how to process, like how to get out of your own head when you're angry. I saw that PDF. I pulled that for actually one of our employees and sent that over to him to say, like, hey, when you're only seeing red, use these steps to calm down, like that kind of thing. So there's lots of really good stuff on there.
Yeah, thank you. And you named something I think is just a growing need. Like, if you think about how much time it takes, we're all different types of learners. Like, some of us process and then come back. Some of us are verbal. Some of us can just like read, make decisions. Processing with a group of people an issue or topic that is relatable, or a challenge or an issue that is relatable outside of your work environment, like with your colleagues, is so much value to you as a leader and what you're then going to bring back to your team. And it's kind of an overlooked skill or an overlooked need, I think, today, because we're so driven by, like, do I have the right answer? Do I have, like, almost like being perfect? But part of change and part of growth is learning new things, which is in essence imperfect. And so we need like spaces and places, like credible spaces and places with groups of people to credibly challenge us, to offer different perspective that we really just can't get if we're not outside of that. And to think everyone in a company can go to like a networking event or leave their the company for 4 hours or 8 hours once a month, like it's a reasonable ask. So this is this is our offering really to solve for the need for flexibility, the need for real-time, credible challenge and solution.
Oh no, I can't hear you.
I'm back.
Okay.
I forgot to put my phone on.
Yeah, you're Bluetoothing in.
It Bluetooth.
That's awesome.
Thanks for your.
No, you're good. No, it like cut out perfectly, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. No, so one of the most, I think, impactful things I've seen, like where all the money is for the membership. It's in the roundtables and the community discussion. I'm with you 100%. I think the perspective in the group of people I've never met before, and being able to be like really transparent, even with people you've never met for, and live process and hear their struggles related to your own struggles, have, time to like, as a group, like talk through that, completely different approaches to things. So we talked quite a bit about vision last month, and actually took those and applied those. And we're sending out our vision statement and mission statement to the company to get feedback, to kind of, because it couldn't find my place in that whole thing of where I believed, what I didn't, who needed it, who doesn't. And then, kind of made alignment there. And yeah, it's just stepping into my ignorance with vision. You guys helped me through that. And then whatever ignorance you have, it's kind of processing that with the group, which I find huge benefits in Vistage. And this is just a way more readily available scale, I would say, because a lot of these programs are executive specifically or management specifically or whatever specifically. And I think it puts them in a tier that's not capable for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. And the one thing, we just launched it, and my surprise has been what you said, which was how quickly people don't know each other, got to like the real stuff, like real transparency, real, like this is it, like just completely real. And I'm like, this is what the value. This is the value.
Yeah, totally agree. Perfect transition into the word engagement. So starting off with understanding engagement. So defining engagement. Employees engagement is a phrase that gets thrown around a lot, but how do you define it in a way that moves beyond corporate buzzwords? What does true engagement look like in action?
You're asking me for a definition?
I am.
Thank you. I love being put on the spot. The willingness and ability to show up in your most honest, effective way with your colleagues, with yourself, with your role. So it's you have a willingness, you have an ability to show up to the job, to the task, to the team, to the meeting in your most effective, honest way.
Yeah, I would say that's really, really good, because what seems so easy, Scott, when you put it in that definition, why is it so hard?
We're stressed and terrified because we have three basic emotions that we're all wounded by: shame, guilt, fear, and anger. Anger comes in there. And we don't want to feel that in our workplace. We want to be productive. We want to be successful. We want to feel a sense of safety or stability, a level of control. And I think more than ever, things simply feel out of control, and we hate it. So then we get into a misunderstanding around a priority or a task, and we look to blame, shame, hide, because these are our natural default mechanisms. And most of us don't walk around with don't wake up every morning and journal or see a therapist every other week, or, we just don't have either the time or the appetite for that stuff, or the money, the resources for it. But that is really what it takes to become engaged. You become a master of yourself, so that when you go into work, you aren't getting, your stuff isn't getting in the way of engagement, of other people's effectiveness.
Mastering yourself sucks.
Yes, it's so hard. It's so hard,
and it's never ending.
Yeah, it sucks, and I think there are these other qualities you get when you start the work of your awareness and taking action based on your awareness, that you go like, oh, well, it feels like, I think the best word I have for it is it feels like a sense of contentment, like a calm inside, even though there's a storm around you.
That's really good. I ask myself that quite often, of like, when I see like two grown adults, and it could be at SWF, that are having an argument and like can't sort it out. And my comment to them is, how I don't have personal relationships with many people at work, like outside of work. Like that's just who I am, a very non-social person outside of work. And so but I don't argue with people that often. Like, it's just like, it's always going to be crazy. Like, this is what work is. So why are we getting so upset about it? It's not personal. I don't understand why people take it so personally.
You probably would have to ask them, like, for them, what causes them to take it so personally. I would say a hypothesis I hold around like why it becomes so personal is, for a lot of people, and there probably are like studies on this, but like a lot of people, work can be a place they go to cope with the things that are outside of control in their personal life. Like, one, we spend most of our time at work, and it can be a place where we can forget that our parents are aging or dying. Our kid didn't get selected for the sport thing. I mean, it's a lot to adult. It's a lot to be awake to the fact. It's to be awake to responsibilities in this life. And I think a lot of people go to work to escape it. And you can get really, I mean, it can be very positive. You can rally around a goal. You can find meaningful collaborative relationships, like working on any team. And then that feeling of satisfaction that you get because you're achieving stuff, you're solving problems, you're supporting one another. Like, that's engagement. I mean, that's a high. Can I trust my boss? Yes. Do I trust the people I work with? Yes. When I ask for help, do I get it? Can I acknowledge something that I'm not good at and find resources? Yes. I mean, you start answering these questions in engagement surveys, like, you have a high level of engagement. I think what gets in the way is there is structure. Like, if the structure and the roles and responsibilities aren't clear, that I think does get in the way of engagement. That's a very clear thing. I think one of the behaviors organizations do, I had a conversation recently with someone I'm coaching or mentoring, and in their organization, it's very high paced, very competitive. A lot of the way you get promoted or advanced is you just get more stuff given to you. And I think that's okay, right? Like, if you look at other organizational structures, they would say, like, we're going to give you 2 to 3 jobs. At the end of this, you get an advancement or a promotion. I think in a lot of like privately held companies, they're not being that forward or upfront. Like, we're going to give you these things. When you achieve it, which looks like XYZ, you get more money, you get a promotion, you get something. They don't do that. I don't think there is a lot of that happening in private. And so what happens is you are in this prolonged period of stress with a lot of responsibility, and there's no clarity in sight of when this ends, or when I get more money, or when I get a new role. And maybe it would have helped if someone asked that person if they wanted more money and wanted a new role, because maybe they don't. Well, more money probably, but maybe they don't want more responsibility. So there's just these unspoken assumptions that I think get in the way of engagement. Because then it's like, I'm just under a prolonged period of stress that's not being completed. There's no end in sight. So now I'm just disengaging. I'm losing my motivation.
So when you say that, it makes me think we just went through our biannual reviews. So we have February reviews and August reviews. And it made me think, because I talked to the management team and I try to get across, like, this is the most important moment to sit and be as clear as you possibly can with employees, because even if it's a tough conversation, it has to be had, People have to know where they are right now, where they want to be, ask them where they want to be, and then you got to make that bridge for them so they know how to get to that. Because if they're not performing well right now, but they want to be this awesome thing in the future, or maybe that, like you said, maybe that awesome thing is I just want to be the exact same, because not everybody wants to climb the ladder, right? But you got to have that clarity in that real conversation, but not everybody's really good with that because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. You named it, because it's uncomfortable. So maybe the training is the boss of the managers going like, what are you going to do when it's uncomfortable? Like, what are your talking points? What's your approach going to be? You know, like allowing for whatever comes back, if it isn't aligned with what you want, to be able to engage and to clarify expectations, to clarify roles and responsibilities, to pull out the job description and look at it. Yeah. Asking, you know, one of the exercises I think is really helpful with job descriptions is asking both the direct report, the employee, and the manager to say, what is it that is unique that only this person can do in this role? What is their priorities? What are their percentage of times in this area? Because this idea that we can just like continue to mount more onto people, I do think is a pattern that, if that's happening in your organization without calibration, basically, on roles, responsibilities, expectation, then we are going to have disengagement. And I'm going to give you a thumbs up for some reason.
I don't know how that happened.
I just want everyone to know my spirit animal is giving you my spirit emoji is giving you a thumbs up.
Or you were thumbs upping your own comment.
My ego is on tilt.
No, it's really interesting you say that, because I had that conversation with my controller, because I'm a KPI data monster, right? And he builds a lot of the crazy things that my COO and I come up with. But one of the comments he openly said, like, if we want more stuff, I need to get rid of other stuff. And I said, great comment. Let me go. Let's write down your current reports or KPIs, and let's talk about the ones Brian and I don't use anymore. Scrap them, because we moved on to the next phase of that, and you should not need to keep doing those on a monthly basis. Because you're right. That's really good. You just assume that someone's going to say uncle, but not everybody does.
Yeah. You just gave me an idea. Thank you.
You're welcome.
To do the same thing. That's how I feel like that's our relationship at this point. It's like, oh, thank you so much for that idea.
But by the way, I'm making a hat that says, would you say it's so hard to adult? I think it's what you said. Yeah. Scott, right here.
Adult. Yeah, I mean, the real negative could be adulting sucks, or it's like, it's so hard to adult.
Yeah, adulting's so hard.
Adulting's so hard. That's better.
And I just say, like, the way I phrase that is, we never know someone's baggage, right? The at-home baggage, the work baggage, coming from another employer baggage, like, all that stuff exists. And just because they start day one under your tutelage doesn't mean they align with your culture from where they came from. They may have a boss that always shut them down in meetings, talked over them. You don't really know any of that. You're just assuming they're always going to speak up, or they're cool in large groups, or blah, 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 blah. Or, you know, you're not understanding their home life, which we'll get into some of that a little bit more for around engagement. So why it matters for leaders who want to not fully buy into the concept. What's at stake when companies overlook employee engagement? How does it tangibly impact productivity, retention, and even the bottom line? Any thoughts around that?
I think leaders that don't have to care about company engagement are so flush with cash, or having such a financial, they're in a category business, they're so flush with cash, they can overpay for roles. I think that's the only reason. Otherwise, what you will see, your indicators will be turnover, retention, the type of talent you can win, to get is going to not be good. It's going to decrease. And I think it's because more and more of the lean, mid-sized, small companies are taking this very seriously in the trades specifically, because they're recognizing it's a battle for talent, and they're going to win over the talent that cares, that feels resourced, feels supported, and wants to be on a winning team, and wants to be rewarded, wants to have most of them will want career advancement. So, and all those things work together, I think, for engagement.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been on this boat for quite a while now. My previous employer was a big culture monster. I think that's where I learned most of my, like, this is why it matters, and then drink the Kool-Aid, and then just carry the Kool-Aid. And like, we were in that space anyway, but like taking it to the next level of like, how flexible can we be while still making all of our KPIs, like that kind of thing. And so I'm with you, and I've seen, it's so interesting because once you're in that headspace and you hear, I'll say, the buzz language from leaders who think they know but don't really live it. They're like, I hear things like, well, we pay them good wages. I'm like, that's not what it's all about. But like, it's almost like you're looking in on the conversation when you start really going down this road of engagement and listening and trying to fix the small things or the big things, and walking that path with everyone else in the company as a giant mass forward. It's a different feeling.
And I think leaders that are really serious about this have to bring in outside objective resources at some point in different ways. It could be a survey, sure. That's what I'm thinking more of, is leaders that want assessment and survey on themselves. Like, what is it about me? What are the 360s? What are my blind spots? And then how do I take these insights that my team's telling me, people that report to me are telling me, and actually in the moment observe them showing up, so I'm making a different decision out of sheer belief, not out of feeling. Because if you're making the decision out of feeling, you're going to keep doing the behavior you've done because that's the comfortable thing. You're going to say, okay, I know right now I feel angry and upset, and I usually would get really passionate about this.
Air quotes for those of you not watching.
I would know the amount of companies I've been in that are like, we're really passionate. I'm like, I think you mean angry, but maybe I misread emotion. I don't know.
That's so good.
But that was me. Like, I can only speak for myself. Like, we have a tool we use where like we drink the Kool-Aid on this tool. It's called a Hogan assessment because it's based on data. It has the most data in the world on executive functioning, predictability, on actual reputation. So there's like, this is how people experience you, Scott. Oh, so that's hard. That's hard to take. Like, I know my internal issues. I'm highly emotive. I'm very sensitive. I can over dramatize feelings and then make up these crazy stories. I'm extremely creative. I would have been a much better, I would have been an artist and all these sorts of things. But it really has started to work. And it's like, I can see the reactivity, and not only like in meetings, like to make a different choice, but also, okay, what are the structures and supports, the data, the metrics that make these problems much more objective, financially, forecasting, strategy and scoping for contracting. Like, what are the actual solutions so that some of these things that were causing a lot of this emotionality, it's like they're being governed by a system versus a personality. Because the reason I'm bringing this up, the need for that on a leadership level, is because I could very much get in the way of engagement. And what would I define as engagement? Well, we're a small consulting group. We have to pivot and change. We have all this IP we've created, and it's like, how do we package this IP, and how do we empower our consultants to be leaders, thought leaders, so that there's a demand for what it is we have created, but really that gets delivered by them or a small group. And I had all kinds of thoughts and beliefs about all this stuff, and was mostly wrong because they're at the front. I have a small client load, but they're at the front end of the feedback that's coming in from prospective clients, and really prospective clients. And so that was causing a lot of reactivity and emotionality because it was going against all this parts of my natural ways of being that really go, in my view, go against engagement. And that's high excitability, low interpersonal sensitivity. Sure, I'm sensitive, but I have a low ability to be interpersonally sensitive, meaning kind of measure myself so that the interpersonal relations is very calm and measured and that. And so I would highly recommend leaders that are like questioning whether engagement matters, start with themselves.
It's so interesting that you're talking about that, because I didn't know about Hogan before. I was thinking about this, but I was always like, I would watch other leaders or other project managers through my career, and I'd see, like, I feel like insecurities kept getting in the way of making really good decisions. And some of that, like you're saying, it's our own personal, the way we're structured, that's really could be stopping innovation or collaboration or taking it, I guess when we're going back to what we were talking about, your reason you're taking it so personal, it's because your internal, the way you always solve problems isn't working in this scenario, and you're frustrated. That's really good. Dang it. Oh, that's got to be a really, really eye-opening assessment.
Oh, it was so, yeah, I might have shared this with you, but they came in, they did the assessment on me. They came in, shared it with our team, everyone present. I didn't have a pre-debrief. We as a team actually critiqued. We're like, there's a better way to do this, but we would have never done it that way. And they basically said, they're like, we don't see CEOs with your profile. Like, it's like, you're not going to be a successful CEO with this profile.
I got that same assessment on a different type.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I agree with your assessment. I don't necessarily agree about successful in this, because that's not considering like what our team, what we're learning and how we're adjusting, like every other week, every week to every other week. I mean, we are adjusting so much. I think you can't predict your future success based on your past mistakes or successes and failures or success. I think it's like, what are we doing right now that is predictive of what we might be doing in the future?
Yeah, and I think the assessment also, like, it has to put you in some sort of box for it to be an evaluation, right? And like those boxes, like I as human beings, I think we're so gray, and that's very hard to comprehend because we just want it to be black or white. This problem sucks, so it must be in here, and this problem's good, and it must be in here. And I just don't think life is that simple. I think it's very complex, and when we're trying to wrap our heads around it to make ourselves feel better, and I don't think we can do that. And I think it's a big struggle with pretty much everything.
Yeah.
When we get down to it. Well, you gave me a great case study. And by the way, if you're interested in Hogan, SHV does Hogan assessments and dive deep, and will tell you where you're great and where you're terrible.
Well, they do say derailers are overused strengths, and I would agree with that.
What do you mean by that?
So instead of weaknesses, in order to almost like survive or perform in your role, you've overused these strengths.
So it's a crutch.
Yes. Or here you go. So one of my personality types is I can be charismatic and all these things. I essentially can overuse it to the point where I get overly excitable, and then I'm not measured, not thoughtful, decisive. Like I'm just kind of
riding the high,
excited.
baby.
Riding the high. So I'm like, okay, sure. So just measure that and monitor that. So
it's good.
It's been the best assessment I've ever taken.
How often do you have to go back to the data to remind yourself?
Our next step is actually go to the data as a group and just say, what are our anchor values, so that when we're in conflict, it's like, this is where we begin our conflict, because there's strengths, derailers, and values, which are your core motivators, which is actually where conflict often resides. And I would say I go back like quarterly. I just look at it. I want to take it again, probably 6 months to a year, because it will have been like 2 years. And I've been applying what I'm learning, so I'm curious. It will adjust. So Here's where I'm at with like leadership. For me, at least, it's about moving towards the middle. It's not about dampening these feelings for me. Like I can't. Like I don't know how to do that.
Right.
It's okay. I'm going to have them. I'm going to ride it. I'm going to be with it. I'll exercise. I'll walk. I'll whatever, journal, breathe. Breath work is awesome. And then I won't make decisions in that. I won't make decisions when I'm in the storm. I'm going to come once I'm in the middle and I have people I talk to, I have advisors of this, then we'll make a decision. We'll have data now. And we do. We have these different reports that are so helpful.
So it's really not so much changing yourself, it's knowing how to monitor yourself.
Master.
Yeah.
I really do. I just don't believe I've been in therapy since I was, I don't know, 12, 13. I've been at self-improvement since my 20s. Like it's a long road. and I don't think I'm unique. Like I don't think I'm special. I think probably anyone who's been working at themselves for a while is like, it's incremental improvements. So why not set up systems and structures that are like guardrails so that these things that you're a steward of or really care about, your business, your family, your finances, like I care about my health, that I'm setting it up for the best possible results for me, which are going to be different than other people. And then that becomes success. Like this is what I value. Like right now, the thing out of kilter for me is personal health. Like I know why winter's tough for me, but I'm coming out of it and I'm like, all right, let's get some of these systems in place to be on the bike more, be outside because I gotta be outside. And then just having that grace for ourselves of like, you're not gonna always be at 100. You're not gonna always be winning. Because I think going and about engagement, I think it is a mental game. And we can set ourselves for quick disengagement when we're like, it's always got to be going up. I can't ever be modest in my, performance. I can't ever be drop. Yeah, you can drop because guess what? Guess what might have happened? The company might have doubled. So your competencies now need to narrow what you focus on. We need to get better people to do other things or you're going to be spread too thin in your engagement. There's all kinds of reasons. It's okay to feel shitty. Like, let's listen to the shitty feeling together and like figure it out so we can get you in a better spot, get ourselves in a better spot.
Yeah, there's so many things I want to unpack there. So you talked about all of the things that kind of affect you as being like the prime Scott, right? And that's what I want people to take out. This engagement doesn't stop when like someone walks out the door, right? Because all of this shit that's still affecting your life, I only know of one person in my company who can actually turn it off. I don't think that's it's a superpower of his.
Yeah, good for him. Good job.
It doesn't affect him at all, which is crazy to me because I think the equation's very simple, like happy people are efficient people. And I truly believe that. I think it is that simple. But the happy part is so hard because it's work. It's relationships. It's the type of work. It's how they're working. It's the systems you have in place. It's the process. It's coworkers. But then you go outside the door. It's home. It's the car. It's kids. It's everything else that goes with that. So if happy people can be truly happy, it's, having financial acumen, understanding retirement, like all making the right choices, not being in debt with just the money piece of it. And then you bring in like, okay, maybe I want to make a little bit more money. How do I make side hustles? Maybe I can use AI. Like there's all these things you got to keep layering on to make people's lives better, to make them happier. That is a revolving door that will never stop. That's what makes it, I think, so exhausting and so tiring for people that it's like, I don't even know where to start.
Well, the other way of happiness is less. So like, I hear what you're saying around what I hear that as is help people understand their values and goals, resource them so they can work towards it. I think that's brilliant. And yes, I think we can, as employers, we can do that. Like, I really think we can do that.
So, yeah.
And then I do also think one of the challenges, the challenge I'm taking on right now is less. Okay. I'll give you prime examples. Like, so with inflation and everything, I'm kind of like, why does it feel like I'm making less money? And so I'm working as hard, if not harder, than 5 years ago. This doesn't feel like I've made momentum. And money was a critical metric for me since 30. I'm 45. And so I started to really look at this money goal thing for me. Now I still have goals, retire, all these kind of things, but I was like, oh, it has simply dropped in my values. It's a lower value. It's still in my money as it relates to being a steward of it and like responsible and the kind of financial freedom, if you will, I want from it at a certain age, retirement, etc. Yes, that value is still there. Its metric for how it's going to give me a feeling, gone. Like literally eviscerated. It is not true anymore. It just isn't true anymore. I'm not saying I'm a good person or I've somehow morally moved it. It has moved. That's what I'm saying. It has absolutely moved. And I'm like, okay, that's why I'm so miserable. I feel misery when I look at some of these numbers because I'm like, I'm prescribing to it that it's supposed to make me feel certain. It's like, I'm not going to do that anymore, Scott. Like, that's what money is saying to me. Because your value for wellness or internal wellness and health, physical health, is moving up for you. It just is now. And I can only know that by I'm not prioritizing it and I'm feeling shitty. So these are shifting that they're still in the soup of values for me. They simply have shifted in their priority.
Wow.
And because this all speaks to engagement
yes.
and like happiness. And I love the topic of happiness. And I'm like, okay, like let's listen. And I can genuinely feel, and this is more recent for me, this shift in the morning of like, okay, you're on this other path. I'm not sure what this path looks like. I don't know that you become a monk, Scott, but like something's happening here.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why. Like I like, when a car gets close to 100,000 miles, I get like antsy. I'm like, nope, we got to get rid of this sucker. And we have 2 cars right now that are like closing in. And I'm like,
closing in. That's the word
closing in on 100. And I'm like, wait, what if I could be happy with mine? My wife's is a little less like, there's some safety issues on that one for me. But I'm like, what if I could be for almost 200? And I'll like play that out. I'm like, that's about 8 years from now. I'll be 52. I'll get a Rivian or something like a Rivian. I sweat yours. And I'm like, I think I'm going to try it.
Good for you.
Like just as a practice. Like, yeah. I'm like, what will I get if I can just like settle in? Like, that's my goal. My goal is to ride the sucker till it's close to 200. And why am I doing that? Because I'm recognizing that this money thing for me has lost its return. Because the real return for me is like prolonging the happiness of the reward 10 years from now when my wife and I can be like, it's cold in Pennsylvania. We have flexible work schedules. There goes my thumbs up. And my thumb already knows.
It must be my hand.
Yeah, it's something. We're going somewhere warmer, like more frequently, because in our 50s, like health and well-being are really going to matter. And I know that just means prolonging buying stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And the less, and what's interesting about tying this back to company engagement, like that soup is with all of your employees.
Yeah.
And the relationship of all the things, the values in the soup is constantly changing. Right. So having these kind of conversations or having resources for people to have these conversations allows you to be really content in the soup that you're in. But that's like big pants stuff.
Well, wasn't it like when we were farmers? Like, wasn't it right? Like, there wasn't a huge expectation of new car every 3 years or 5 years or a bigger house every 5 to 10. You know what I mean? Like, I do think that drives misery.
Yes.
I think it drives suffering. There are statistics on this, like at a certain level of income, you know, you're no longer happier. So sitting in the soup with your employees I do think allowing yourself to learn and understand what are people's values related to money. Why? What is it? What are their responsibilities with their children, with their families? What might they need more of? And I'll give you a great example. I have a colleague who's also a really good friend. He's in a company that has multiple business lines, and he has a really great competency. And they have a consulting arm. And a group came to them asking for that competency, and they were like, oh, we can sell that through him, and they'll pay him extra. So it's like he got a side hustle inside of a company he's already in. I'm like, that's creative. Like, that's and he's thrilled. Like, a couple $1,000 more,
Beautiful.
just like cash, boom. I just love that. I think that more and more when it comes to engagement, like we'll have our core business, our core competencies. We got to understand roles, responsibilities, and we got to understand each other. We just need to know who we are and what we really care about, and be like really, really curious. Not curious to change somebody, not curious to like convince somebody why what they value isn't good or right, but like, oh, this is what you care about. That's strange to me. Fine. Like, get curious with yourself why it's strange to you. Don't put that shit on the other person.
That's so good.
Because that's disengaging.
100%. Yeah.
Like, I hear it more and more. People are just like upset that like the young people like playing video games. I'm like, I'm not a gamer. I think you are.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
can you tell?
What I know is there's real community in the gaming community.
So we started this out with SHV Pathways, and what I was going to say at the end of that is the gaming community has figured out this communal feel years ago. Years ago. And like, I had a Discord community with 250 something members, and it was just a bunch of people I've never met before. And we all just talked about video games or life or whatever, right? We had a common interest of a gaming community that wasn't toxic. Yeah, those exist. They're very few, but some of those do exist. But my point is, like, people are looking for somewhere to sit, right? And I think the problem with the workspace in that is everybody, like, we feel it has to be so expensive because it has to pay for someone's livelihood on the other end, where it's almost not, there's like the cost of entry is so high, and you have to get to this certain level. And that's why I think people are clamoring for something, like that with SHV Pathways, because it's like, oh, I do have a space I can go to learn to better myself, so I can get to a level that I want to get to.
Exactly. And it is holistic, to your point. Like, the whole person, like, it is one of our core values at SHV, which stands for sustaining human value, because we see what's happening in business, which is technology is replacing human competencies, like, faster than ever, AI, everything. Yep. So there's sort of there's a fork in the road, and there's two ways. One, this is binary, if I've ever seen. We will either go the way of really learning how to be human again, or we will destroy each other. It's like there's absolutely no other option, in my view. And I'm betting, and our team and our family, Like, it's very intentional for my wife and I. Currently, we're the only partners in SHV Partners. That's not the long-term plan. The long-term plan will be more partners, is that there will be a group of helpers in organizational leadership development that sustain human value in the workplace, in business, because business will be, in a way, the last place we go for connection. Other than that, we will find our own enclaves of pods of community, which is fine too. But as far as diverse communities, it is probably the last place.
And it may be the realist.
And it may be the realist, which to me creates potential to actually learn the skills and the value of difference as a strength.
Yeah, it's one of the main reasons I'm going really hard into my traveling YouTube channel, because everybody who's anybody is making traveling content, right? With AI, they're just putting this place, make it look beautiful, but I'm going with raw footage that's bouncy sometimes as I'm walking down stone steps, right? Because I wanted to show like I was actually there. Yeah. My face, my body, I slipped over this thing, I jumped into the water, blah, 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 blah. Because like there is going to come a time, I think it's coming faster than we probably realize, where we're going to go, no, I want somebody who actually stayed in that resort. Like, what was it actually like? How good was the turkey club sandwich? Like, I want to know these things that are really odd, because then I know they actually stayed there.
You were seeing it. I saw an article on interior design, and we're seeing it there. Like, people are done with the cold vibe. Like, it's over. They're like, where's the old stuff? The leather stuff, the broken in stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to sit on a piece of concrete in a coffee shop or my house ever again. Like, it's like, oh, that's novel.
Yeah. So we're going to take the comfort and turn it right back into, we need the comfort of human beings.
Yeah, we do. I think we can design for it. I think we can, to what you were saying about like how you're rallying your managers to take very seriously the conversation around performance as it matters. Like, they care about how well the person's performing, how well they feel they're performing, and what they need, resource support. I heard Eve Masita. I look up Eve Masita for anyone who's interested in growth mindset. I interviewed her for our podcast, and she gave this way to think with your employees. If you've created sort of a bias against them, like they don't care, is it a skill issue? Is it a will issue? Or is it a hill issue, like a barrier? So skill, will, hill. Will is the hard one. But first check, because we assume it's will. Like, check, is this a skill? Like, when you're doing your performance review, like, is there some training we can get you? Can you shadow someone? What could it be? Is it a hill? Like, is there a real barrier? Learning abilities. Like, we got to consider how people learn, like we can just assume they learn the way we do. That's not true.
Take notes. I'm just talking at you.
And then, or is it will? Like, there are people who are like, no,
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. And then maybe we repurpose their role.
That's really good.
Instead of get rid of them, repurpose them.
Yeah, those biases. I get that. That's really good. Yeah. Skill. Oh, wow. That was a really good one. All right. A couple things here just to end on. Anything, what do you think the biggest mistakes are? What sabotages the engagement? What have you seen from your experience working with a bunch of companies all over the place? Anything that jumps out that you see consistently?
Getting an engagement survey and not taking an action is probably the number one. Like, not communicating, this is what it is, this is what we heard, and this is what we'll do. Like, you got to do that if you're doing an engagement survey. Not starting with the leadership when there's engagement. Like, start at the top. Don't say, come in and help these leaders be more engaged. And I just want to confess, I've participated in that. Yeah, no, we don't do that. Okay. So
that's really
those are
good.
The two I would say.
Start at the top, get your engagement done, read it, give feedback, and say, this is what we heard, this is what we're going to go change.
Yeah.
That's really good. Can you, sorry, I thought I had a different question there, but I don't. So every workforce is different. How can a leader assess their employees to understand what will actually engage them rather than relying on one-size-fits-all solutions? Is it just an engagement? Is that the easiest way?
Based on this conversation, I really like the idea of talking to them about what they value personally and professionally. I think if you looked at that and you could ask them, how does that relate to how engaged you are in your job? How does what you value relate to? I think asking the employee more questions than assuming is the move.
Ooh.
And really learning about who they are.
Yeah, I think that's scary for some. Because I remember we specifically did that during COVID because I didn't know what to do because there was no playbook.
What is scary when you said that? Like, what's the part that's scary?
I think of like probably the solution, right? As a boss, like what if you don't have a solution? What if you can't think of one? You know, what if like the answer?
Good. Because then there's innovation, right? Because then the boss might have to go to his peers or their peers and say, like, I came across something I've never come across before. Looking for something new is innovation.
Ooh.
Like being open to something new so that you can look for it to create a solution is innovation. So we don't need to be afraid of coming across something we don't have an answer for because it could be an indicator of something new. That could create more engagement.
Sure. It's very good.
So I think it's natural though to feel like you're supposed to have answers as a boss.
Yeah, I think that's the scary part. All right, well, I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time. Are you good? I got one more.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, with remote work, AI, and generational shifts in the workplace, what do you see the future of employee engagement? How do businesses need to adapt? Remote work, AI, and generational shifts. Do you think any of that makes a difference on really the core of what engagement is?
Well, I don't know what AI is or isn't doing for engagement. You might know more than me. I think generational shifts, I think it's important to identify the strengths in the different generations. So, for example, the strength in often the most senior generations is knowledge. The weakness in the youngest generation is often knowledge or experience knowledge. How do you close those gaps and see that as an opportunity and design, going back to design for it through mentorship, through training, through naming, like if you're a senior here, we really value you. We value your knowledge and your experience. Our new expectation is helping us close this gap, this generational gap. If you're younger and newer here, we really appreciate you and we want you to find your career here. And you might find older people odd. We really value them and their knowledge and experience. And our expectation is you're going to be learning from them. Right. And we want to design, so it's like, as a leader, bringing those worlds together and the generations in between. So I think it's intentional kind of design. There's some creativity around that. AI, not sure. Yeah. And then did you have another one?
No, just with the remote work, but I think it's the same thing, right? It's just around values. The remote work is not a barrier. It's just the same conversation over Zoom or over Teams, but it's still talking about the people.
Yeah, and I think you have to design for engagement conversations. Like you can't just have to-do meetings, task meetings, management meetings. Like you have to have conversations, open dialogue. And before a meeting, as part of a meeting,
right?
It needs to happen.
Yeah, you guys are heavy remote, right? You guys are kind of scattered all over the place.
We're 100% remote. Yeah, and we fly in and travel to, like, we have consultants in our populated areas of companies we work with, clients we work with. Yeah. So that's intentional, so they can visit the locations. But our team is all remote, and the best thing we've done is delegated the leadership of our meetings to our team. So, they create engaging conversations. This is a really small thing, but I've been intentionally showing up later to meetings online because I noticed they talk more.
Wow, interesting.
So, because I think I'm like very focused. I can be overly driven. So.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that. Understand that. That's good. It's very good. Well, Scott, Hackman, SHV, Ventures, and all of your partners, thank you for coming on. Dude, I took a lot of nuggets out of that. That was very helpful for me.
So fun. Yeah, it was really good being with you.
Yes, very good being with you. Thank you again. Do you want to close with anything again? Obviously, SHV partners, anything else? SHV pathways?
Yeah, if you're curious about SHV pathways, I would love to like show you it. There's a 1 month free trial. So when you register, there's a 1 month free trial. We also have opportunities for corporations, like companies that want to offer it for free because otherwise you have to enter your credit card. So if you're a company and you want to offer it, I would just contact me at scotthackman@shvpartners.com or just go to our website, shvpartners.com, and at what we do section, you'll see pathways and check it out. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, Scott's pretty active on LinkedIn too, so if you want to catch him there and just DM, I'm sure you'll get right to him. You're posting videos and things like that, which is very helpful, so thank you for that. And thanks for coming on again and talking about engagement, because I think I was in a completely different mind space and you took me to the value space, and I think it connected my two worlds, but it was very helpful. I don't think I was in that value space as much as I should have been. So,
oh, good.
As always, helping me along the way. Well, thank you, Scott.
Yep.